Electing is like choosing the flavor of your favorite ice cream. It might seem like a small decision, but it can make a big difference in your overall experience. When it comes to elections, the choices we make at the ballot box shape the direction of our communities, regions, and countries. It's our way of contributing to the recipe of our collective future. County commissioners, on the other hand, are like the unsung heroes of local governance. They make decisions that directly impact the day-to-day lives of people in their communities, from local infrastructure projects to social services. These officials play a crucial role in allocating resources, addressing community concerns, and implementing policies that affect the well-being of residents. We had an interesting conversation with a vibrant and youthful candidate, Abrahim Javed, during which he discussed how he is planning to enact positive changes in our community if elected to the county commissioner position.
And today in my show, we have got a very young man. He's not only young, but he's also robust, and he wants to bring a change. Today, we have got Abraham Javed with us. Thank you so much, Abraham, for joining me.
Thank you for having me, Sofia. I appreciate it.
I appreciate as well that you are taking part in politics and you are coming forward as a newer generation, as a younger generation, and you're involved in it because it is important to vote, I guess.
Absolutely. It's important to vote. And that's a criticism many people have of the younger generation, the voting bloc, 18 to 24 years old, maybe are not the most active voters you can see when you look at the data. And so one thing I hope to do in this campaign is especially energize those people. Although we're talking to everyone, whatever age group they may be a part of, whatever ethnicity they're a part of, we want to be inclusive. But as someone who's a part of that age group, I want to make sure that I'm engaging them, giving them a reason to go out there and vote, whether that's for me or anyone else, and making sure that they understand that voting is essential, and being an informed voter is the most important thing we could do when it comes to politics.
That's so good because you're running for Fort Bend County Precinct 3 Commissioner's position.
Yes.
So there is a huge competition going on, Abraham.
Absolutely.
I mean, there are so many candidates. They have served there, like Andy Meyers himself. He has been in the position since the late 90s. And you have other candidates as well. You're young. So how do you feel like, okay, no, I have to make this change and I have to move forward and bring my opinion?
Absolutely. So there was a quote someone shared with me just the other day. It said that Walt Disney said, the best way to start getting things done is to quit talking and to just start doing. And so that's my goal here, is to actually get out there and get my message out to people, engage new voters, engage existing voters, and give them a reason to go out and vote. Tell them there's a younger generation out there that wants to lead. They understand that, there's been an older generation here leading since 1990s, like you said. But when it comes to politics, that's something that people complain about oftentimes, is that there's no choices, or that people stay in power for too long. They don't actually cultivate a next generation or a succession from their end for new leadership to come in to be even more successful than they were, or to do things that will improve upon the work that they did, whether that was good or to avoid the bad that they may have done. I think that's sincere leadership, is when you're no longer needed. And that's my goal in my life, is that no matter where I may get, whether that's county commissioner in precinct 3 or anywhere other than that, that I make sure that I'm cultivating someone to replace me, or someone to be empowered to do this job better than I did.
But you must be having a lot of opposition as well, because you're canvassing, and you were telling me before the recording, like you're knocking all the doors and talking to neighbors and people in all 8 slots as well. And so what kind of resistance? Do you feel any resistance, or you feel it's very open and you're relaxed about your canvassing?
Yeah, I don't know if I feel resistance. I feel accountability, which I love. That's one of the 3 principles I'm running on. People don't just see someone knocking on their door and say, okay, checkbox, I'll vote for that person. They have standards, and I love that they have standards. That's what we need to have. And so I'm asking people to hold me accountable as a candidate. Ask me those tough questions. Ask me about things that you're worried about in your community. If I don't have an answer, hold it to me that I'll get back to you if I say I'm going to get back to you. And so, I have people emailing me. We have people that when I talk to them at their door, they'll take me aside and they'll give me their wisdom. And that's something that I appreciate. And so some of the things I'd say people are holding me accountable on is, look, when they see me, obviously I look young, and that's a very fair thing to be asking about. They ask about, what qualifications I have. And then I talk about my educational background,
that's
professional background.
I mean, you have a great educational background. You're from one of the best colleges in Texas.
I appreciate that. And they see that, and they appreciate that. And then they start to engage me beyond, looking like a young voter, then they're like, okay, that makes sense to me.
So you're building up trust with them.
Exactly. And that's right of them to ask, right? So I don't think I'm entitled to anyone assuming that I'm qualified. They should ask those questions, learn about me, because like they may not know me. They may not have seen, our Facebook. They may not have seen the website. They may not have seen anything in the mail. And so those people deserve me engaging them and not being offended by those questions. I shouldn't take lightly to that, I shouldn't feel entitled that someone knows who I am or that they know what I stand for. And it's on me to explain it to them. And so with that mindset, I wouldn't say it's resistance. People just ask those questions that are really fair. They ask things like, why are you qualified for this? Why are you running for this?
I would ask, that would be my next question.
Exactly.
Because I'd be like, why do you think you're qualified for this?
Absolutely. So the thing about the commissioner's role is, another thing is people don't know what the commissioner does. And so that's one of the first questions I get asked is, hey, what does the county commissioner do?
Yeah.
So when I explain to them that the county commissioner is responsible being on the commissioner's court alongside 3 other commissioners for Precinct 1, 2, and 4, you're responsible for county policy, you're responsible for the county budget, which is a very important part of elected, non-elected departments, making sure the money is going to them properly, making sure your taxpayer dollars are being spent wisely. And so when I tell them I have an accounting background and I tell them that I want to be a responsible steward of their money, but also be someone that will progressively push for better policy for the future in terms of the economy here, empowering the next generation here. So that's something that they love to hear, that you're thinking forward, but you're also being accountable and responsible with the money. Because at the end of the day, it is your money. I'm working for you. That's the mindset that I have. And so the same way that I service my customers in my business is the same way that a politician or elected official should look at voters and people that are in their constituency that even didn't vote for them. Because that's something that is plaguing our country, that people think that they're only entitled to the people that vote for them or will reelect them. Of course, your answer to them, but your answer to everyone the moment you get into elected office or even establish yourself as a candidate. And so telling people about what they do, then they start to understand how I fit into that play. And so that's really
but the first question, like if you're talking to people and engaging with the community, what is the biggest question you're getting nowadays? Like, hey, I want you to answer this. What is the most commonly asked question?
Yeah, I think sometimes people ask, like, what is it you want to do differently? Other than the biggest question is, what do they do? Yeah. And so that's something, first off, I'll answer that first question, what is it that the commissioner does? And so I talked about it a little bit briefly. That's something that is sort of a failing on the part of our local government and also maybe our education system and I see good efforts here being done to educate people. I saw one of the commissioners took a group of students to their office and he educated them on what he does and he engages them.
That's a good point, actually.
That's something that should be
educating people.
It should be more frequent. And that's a big thing for me. I think educating people and empowering them to enable themselves to fulfill their civic duty, to vote, to be informed, to know what a commissioner does. If that's the only thing I do in this campaign, I will sleep easy at night. But I want to win this campaign. I want to earn people's support. But for me, it's really important that I'm very passionate about that. I remember I registered people to vote in previous elections. I talked to people about other candidates other than myself. And so I'm not used to selling myself to people or telling people what I'm going to do for them. And so it's something that's been interesting.
The biggest question right now in Fort Bend County at the moment is like buying a home. Yes. That is a very expensive deal. Yeah. People cannot afford home. I was checking out your campaign and what really intrigued me was you said you will make it happen. Yeah. How would Abraham Javed make it happen? Yeah,
so the thing is for buying a home, it's something that we talked about recently as well. It's a very anxiety-driven process. People don't necessarily have the coaching they need. Sometimes people don't know that, for example, there's commission involved with your agents. They don't know how to start that process. And so for me, I think first-time homebuyer support is a really important process that we need to help people through here, giving them coaching from the county level, engaging them whenever they're thinking of moving to Fort Bend. Similarly to when someone's thinking of buying something from your website, you can get that data that someone's interested in coming and buying a product on your website. You can send them marketing emails. We should have that same mindset with people that want to move to Fort Bend or looking to buy a house, especially first-time home buyers, and getting in touch with them from the county level, talking to them about what their concerns are, where they're at in the process, and then empowering them to get from zero to the finish line.
So you think the county should be more involved with the first-time home buyer?
Yeah, so empowering.
That would help them. Basically, what you will be working on is giving them more information, correct?
Exactly, information, training, and that's something I also want to do for small businesses, which we'll get to.
Exactly.
Sometimes you have to hold people's hand the first time they're doing something and get them to the finish line. And I assure you that it'll pay off in the long run in this county. Having people buy a home here and set up roots here is really good in the interest of the entire community. We want people to move here. We want people to establish themselves here with their homes, their businesses, both of them ideally is the goal. That's what I'm talking about in my campaign. We don't want to just be a community that people live in. We want to be a community that people generate economic activity in as well. So that's where we have to move forward and keep pushing.
So what would be your plan for the small businesses? Like, you think like there is such a big government already in place in Fort Bend County, what they have been doing for so many years, and they also get the favorable votes as well.
Yeah, and so I can speak to my experience, right? So as a small business owner myself, I talked about Charity Stack with you. It's a nonprofit. It's a startup that went through an accelerator. And then we ended up working on creating nonprofit technology to innovate in the nonprofit industry, because that's something that we're very passionate about as people, me and my co-founders who have worked in nonprofits for years. And we understand that nonprofits are oftentimes making up for the shortcomings of government. And so there are even nonprofits, in our communities that help people with these things I'm talking about, with home support and also with small business support. And so that's something that should be aided by the government. And so for me, I want to make sure that we're doing the same thing I just mentioned on the home side, or the home buyer side, to the small businesses. I talk to small business owners on the campaign trail about things like a business directory for all the small businesses here. So everyone knows, hey, this business is in Fort Bend County. You should support local. You should buy local. And that's something that I think has become more and more apparent that it's possible. Especially we see whenever, the tragedy with George Floyd, a lot of people were supporting Black-owned businesses during that time. And so that same mindset with buying local can be promoted here, so that we keep our economy within itself. We keep that local dollar strong. When it comes to that directory, when it comes to the trainings and helping people from knowing how to collect sales tax to knowing how to form their LLC.
So I see Abraham Javed getting very involved with people when in the office. So
I want people to be able to find me and my team and to see what they need from us, and we'll work to get that done. That's the level of accessibility we want to have. We don't want to hide behind, our emails. We want to be accessible in our offices. We want to be able to hold people's hands. And because to me, it might not be a huge deal, right? Helping someone form their LLC, but that can change someone's life.
Of course.
And so for me, I want to have that mindset that getting someone from 0 to 1 is one of the most important things the county government can do. And we just need to let them work, and they'll get from 1 to 100, and they'll bring back money to this economy. They'll support people in this economy as well by creating jobs and creating sales tax dollars here. And so they'll buy a home.
That's basically supporting the economy, because when somebody buy a home in the county or even start their own small business, so they basically, you're contributing to the economy and for the county. Okay, but in the meantime, let me take a very short break. We're in conversation with Abraham Javed. We'll be right back. Stay tuned.
The Made to Move sales event at Big Star Cadillac is all about the savings. Enjoy 1.9% APR financing on all 2023 and 2024 Cadillac CT4 and CT5 sedans, and all 2023 and 2024 XT4, XT5, and XT6 crossovers. Lower your payment with 1.9% APR limited term financing at Houston's Cadillac to your door dealer, Gulf Freeway, just 2 minutes south of the Beltway.
Shop smarter when you shop at Big Star. Shop BigStarCadillac.com.
Hey! Okay.
If you love me enough to tolerate my perfect little pets and all their glorious dander, then of course you'll visit nhtsa.gov/the right seat to make sure I'm in the right car seat. Hey Bobo, do trees tell each other stories?
I'm sorry, I'm afraid I don't know that.
Hey, why don't we go find out? Listen.
Do clouds take naps?
I couldn't tell you.
Dad, do stars visit their friends?
Look!
Welcome back. We are in conversation with Abraham Javed. Thank you, Abraham, once more that you have joined us over here, and I know you're working hard with your canvassing and you're just working on your campaign. Let me ask, tell us more about Charity Stack. What is that? That was your nonprofit in your college days, correct?
Yeah, so Charity Stack itself is not a nonprofit, but it's a startup. It's backed by venture capital investors, where we're actually helping innovate and create a new nonprofit industry. And so our goal is to create a nonprofit industry that doesn't have as much operational overhead, has more efficiency and the best technology possible, because we see that being done for businesses with B2B software. We're trying to do the same thing for the nonprofit industry, which is lagging behind. And people have these notions of, wasteful spending, inefficiency, and that's something that we're working hard to get rid of and to innovate in. And so me and my team of co-founders, who I love, and they're working hard as we speak. The goal is to help nonprofits, and that's something we got into because we actually worked on a nonprofit together. I used to run a student-run nonprofit in Austin while I was getting my master's degree in accounting, and that's where I really fell in love with giving back to the community. Even though from a young age we were always involved in nonprofits with our family, and also most times when you're in high school, you volunteer. But the real sincerity of it came to me whenever I was responsible for managing people within that nonprofit and having to empower them to do good for the community while also doing that myself. And that vision is what led to ultimately starting Charity Stack, because we saw the pain points technology-wise there, financially there, and so we really want to
because there are a lot of pain points for the charities, and then managing them and making sure that somebody gets something out of it.
Absolutely.
So I was going through your website and they were like on your social media pages. That's the end thing nowadays. So then you said you have raised a lot of funds on it. Can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, so we had to go through this grueling process of raising venture capital. So we raised $1 million in venture capital so far, and we help nonprofits raise over $2 million through Charity Stack. And so that's something we hope to keep scaling and to build upon. And one thing about why I'm running for commissioner is that I want everyone to be able to have that experience that is working hard to do that. And in Fort Bend County, we can make that possible. We can create a startup incubator here, which is one of the biggest platform ideas that I'm working towards. I'm talking to people about every day. And just yesterday, I was talking to voters about it, and it's aligning with their interest in building a Fort Bend that's a forward future economy with technology jobs here and startups that are being founded here and staying here in Fort Bend County in Precinct 3.
Yeah, because that would be good, because you're basically what I can see from UT College, you're bringing a dynamic mindset
That's the goal.
Here. And you're bringing, and what you're trying to do is you're basically trying, like you said, you're going to create the incubators over here. So basically you're starting up, and it might help a lot of people.
Yeah, and I talked to a student the other day. He's no longer a student now, he's done with school, but when he was a student, he started a business, and on his own, he got it from $0 to $300,000 worth of revenue. And that was without help from anyone here. That was just him working hard and grinding to get that set up. And when I told him about this Accelerate idea, he was like, I would love to be a part of that. One thing I didn't have during that process was mentorship. So I didn't have anyone to talk me through the mistakes that I had made. I probably could have avoided some of those mistakes, and I could have kept my business going, because ultimately he had to stop because he had some health issues that came up. And so that's something that inspired me to really keep pushing with this idea further, because there's people out there that are smarter than me. They don't have the resources because no one's bringing them here to Fort Bend County. We've seen it done in Houston with accelerators where people can go and work out of those offices. We want to make the same thing happen here in Fort Bend County, and in Precinct 3 in particular, where we have a startup accelerator where the brightest young minds here, whether they're coming out of high school or college, or whether they're older and they've already done a successful venture and they want to be part of this ecosystem, we want to help them start their own businesses here, with the guarantee that they will keep their businesses and jobs being made here in Fort Bend County. And so we can empower the next generation to make the next Apple or Amazon here in Fort Bend County, instead of begging people to move here and to move jobs here with tax abatements. That's something that we want to do, is build a robust economy, and it takes time. I'm not saying this is a promise.
I love
overnight.
this opinion. What you just gave me, you just gave.
That's a small,
you're just giving an idea, because because you have those opinions and you had the will that you will make it happen for people.
And we've been through this process, so we will make it possible for it.
Towards the commissioner's office, Andy Meyers has been in the office since the late 90s, and there's a system in place. And so how does young Abrahim Javed sees himself settling in that system and then taking over and then taking care of all that? Because that's a lot of responsibility. People's taxes are involved there. The tax money is involved over there. The budgets are there. And then you will be spending money over, because anything you do, any startup you will bring or any new project you will bring in, it's going to increase the budget. And county people, residents are not going to be happy about it. Then do you have any plans in place already for that?
I love that question. So my goal is not only to enable and empower those small businesses, but to make sure the county makes money doing it. And so what we want to do is, this is, like I said, a long-term approach. We're not trying to make magic happen over a year. We're talking about long beyond both of us in terms of what we're involved in this county. And so what I want to do is actually give this startup accelerator the funding it needs, whether that's from the county itself and taxpayer dollars, or we'll go and get it from investors and we'll make it happen. But the county, I want to have a piece of the pie for every startup that is actually created here. And so that way they are actually benefiting from the success beyond just the jobs that are created here and the economic empowerment. We'll actually have a stake in those businesses and their success. So that'll actually promote us being involved with those startups and helping them succeed. But also the taxpayers will get money back in the long run, for example, if one of those startups ever gets acquired or if it ever becomes a public company, the county will actually own equity in that startup is the goal for me. And so that's something that I'm passionate about. So I don't want people to think that this is just spending their money without any hope of return. This is the goal of getting that money back 10x fold, depending on what success we see from those startups. And so that's the long-term vision there. It's a long-term vision that venture capitalists have. The county government is not going anywhere. It's going to be here for decades to come. And so we want to make sure that we're setting it up for success. And
that was my next question. Actually, when I'm talking to you, you're giving a very modern outlook to the situation. But then I look at the county offices and certain things because technology is not being used the way you're explaining it. Because you are the newer generation. You will be bringing more technology in. But how would a young Precinct 3 commissioner like you would put that in place?
Absolutely.
Because that would be a challenge because there are 3 more commissioners. They might not agree with you and there is a presiding officer, the county judge, they might not do it. Then how would Abraham fix that?
Absolutely. And the thing is, it starts with having conversations with those commissioners and our county judge, making sure that I, humble myself and I don't assume that anyone knows what I'm talking about has value. I have to go and convince them that it has value, and they represent their own constituents in the other precincts and in the entire county. And so I have to advocate not only during this platform and campaign, but I have to go and advocate to the other commissioners that this deserves a vote. And so I have to make sure they know how it will benefit the other people in the county as well. And so what I'm asking for is not just for Precinct 3. I want to benefit all of the other precincts with this accelerator as well. So I hope that they were able to see the long-term benefits this will have. And it's not about getting credit either. If everyone wants to be a part of this, we don't have to go alone, we can go together. And so that's something that I'm more than happy to do with them. And they have wisdom that I can learn from as well. They've been on the commissioner's court. They see the potential investors we can bring into this from out of town, or other county judges or other commissioners from other counties that maybe have done something similar or have failed or succeeded in doing that. And so I need their help to do this. And so I'm going to ask for it. And I'm not going to shy away from that, especially as
my next question would be, Ibrahim, like you're talking to people because of your campaign and you're canvassing on it. What is the biggest concern in Fort Bend County you feel people have?
The biggest concern in Fort Bend County, I would say when I talk to small business owners, is that they don't feel that they're getting support. When you talk to everyday voters, property taxes is something that comes up all the time. Obviously, the Commissioner's Court, to give them credit, they did lower the tax rate. But when it comes to the appraised values going up in the communities here, they're concerned that the values are actually raising their overall taxes, right? So the effective tax rate is still high in their opinion. And so that's very fair. They're the property tax owners at the end of the day. And so the Commissioner's Court isn't responsible for those appraised values at the end of the day. But the state is, passing relief for the Homestead Act that you may have heard of, so people can actually get some relief on their appraised values. And so I think people will see some dividends paid out from that. And so maybe that complaint and that concern will change a little bit, but it's something you have to keep an eye on every time you're setting the budget and tax rate. Who is actually being heard at the bottom? You have to think from everyone, from people that are just making it by. I talked to an older gentleman when I was canvassing, and he takes care of his granddaughter now, and I think he's getting to a point, and he was being very nice about it, but he was all but saying that the county tax rate or the taxes he's having to pay is something that he can't probably stomach for too long, and so he's looking to sell his home and actually just rent in the meantime. And so he didn't say that, but that's what
a lot of people are thinking like that because it's just so high.
Exactly.
And especially in Fort Bend County and in our Sugar Land, Missouri area, it's expensive.
Yeah. And so I think that's something you have to assess and lower as much as you can every year. And so it's not just enough to lower the rate, but if you can equalize it, that's something you should try to do year over year so people can have predictable and fair taxes. And so I definitely understand the need for infrastructure and bold change. And I'm recommending that myself, right, when it comes to this incubator. And so at the same time, we have to be mindful of not hurting the lowest common denominators in our community, people that are just getting by and just affording their homes, people looking to buy homes. And so
okay, let me ask you this question. Andy Meyers said that he has lowered the taxes and he has made almost reduced property taxes by $1 billion. I want a one-liner comment from you.
Yeah, so that's a data coming over time. I think he's using there when it comes to his overall reduction over the years. And so I think I commend him for appreciating the concern there that people should have fair property tax values here. But when it comes to Fort Bend, we do have to look forward, and there are more growing costs here when it comes to infrastructure, when it comes to small businesses. And so you can't just reduce taxes without having a plan for spending here as well that meets the growing needs of this economy and this needs of the community, because it's a fast growing county, as you know. And so you have to balance those two things. You have to be honest with people about where you're spending your money, to spend that money responsibly. You have to make sure you're taking fair value when it comes to taxes. And so I think those things can be done. It just requires having those difficult conversations with people that are struggling to keep their homes and people that are very well off and they're actually doing fine. But they also want to understand what's going into the value and how it's actually being derived. So that's something that...
Let me ask you this last question.
Yes.
You are a Muslim and from Pakistani parents, Pakistani American parents. You're a younger generation going for office. What kind of difficulties you think as a Muslim man you're going to face?
Yeah, I think as a Muslim man, I think sometimes you're asked to speak for the Muslim community, and I don't want to assume that, I have that mantle for everyone, but definitely the people here, I want to be a voice for them. I think they don't have the representation that they deserve oftentimes, and, they work hard to help other people get elected throughout the county and other areas across the country. And so I hope to be a voice for them, especially the marginalized people in our Muslim community that are struggling, whether that's economically or socially. We've seen, even a 6-year-old was the victim of a hate crime in Chicago. And so having people that look like you, think like you, have the same values as you when it comes to issues like Palestine, when it comes to issues going on in Muslim countries overseas that you're from and immigrated here from, they want someone that understands and empathizes with those issues. And so I hope to be someone that can continue to be a voice for them, while also being a voice for everyone in this county when it comes to Commissioner's Court, because, I serve everyone and I want to be inclusive, but I can't change who I am. I'm a Pakistani American. I have a Muslim background very proudly. It has everything to do with who I am as a person and every decision I make. It's why I want to be an equitable candidate. I want to have a principled campaign that's on accountability, innovation, and service. That example comes from my faith. And the Prophet, peace be upon him, that example comes from my Pakistani American immigrant parents. They're the ones who taught me to give back when you have something to give. And if you don't have something to give, you better find something. And so that's something that has inspired me. And so I hope to be a voice for those people in the Pakistani community, Muslim community, and every community. And that's why I'm running.
Thank you so much, Abraham. It's lovely talking to you. It has been so good to meet you. And good luck with your campaign.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Making an informed decision ensures that our community gets the leadership it deserves and that the policies enacted align with the values and need of the people. Voting for county commissioner is an integral part of our democratic process. It allows individuals to have a say in the kind of society they want to live in and the people who will help shape it.
In the end, after having the conversation with Abrahim Javed, a young man, the most important thing for any community is not to make money, is the leaders to make them learn how to fish so they can keep on fishing and feed their family instead of just relying on help. They should be able to fend for themselves. And this is the thing which I felt after interviewing Abraham, like he's trying to give to his community right back. Thank you so much for watching my show with me, Sofia Jamal. Have a great weekend.